geeks, welcome to another video. So today we will be discussing question based on these techniques, that is size exclusion chromatography, also called as gel filtration or gel permeation chromatography, SDS page, FRAP. FRAP is fluorescence recovery after photo bleaching, and Sanger sequencing. If you are interested in listening to the questions based on these techniques, definitely do stick till the end of the video. The questions taken are from CSIR net, but these will be helpful for other entrance exams like JAM, GATE, BARC. So without much further ado, let's get right into the video. So firstly, this is the question that we are going to discuss. Now, what does the question say? The question says that this is a particular illusion profile which is shown, okay, and the technique performed is size exclusion chromatography. As you can see, there are 4 different peaks you can observe which correspond to 4 monomeric globular proteins. And the masses are as follows: 38, 65, 27 and 49 kilodalton. So what they are asking you is these peaks P, Q, R and S correspond to which of the following molecular masses. Okay. Now one thing you have to understand is size exclusion chromatography, on what principle it is based. Now this is very different, from the regular technique. So usually what we think, that smaller the particle, more it will migrate, right? Larger particles will take time. That is ideally what happens during SDS page or electrophoresis experiments. And nature of the chromatography is that the smaller molecule will run faster and the slower one would be, the larger one will be at the start point or little migrate very little, right? But in size exclusion chromatography, what happens is basically you use certain beads, okay, beads like Cefadex. Now these have pores, okay, these beads have pores, and the pores basically, okay, they will trap the smaller particles. Okay, now because the smaller particles are trapped, it takes longer for the smaller particles to elute out. Why? Because there are, see, suppose these are the beads, okay, the whole column is packed with these beads. Okay, so this is, say, your column, and the entire column is packed with these beads. Now imagine that you have 2 molecules. Okay, one is this large shaped molecule and one is this small molecule. Okay, now the pore size, okay, the pore size of these beads are such that these small particles, okay, they have to pass through these beads. And these larger ones, because they are large, they do not pass between the beads and they just, come off. Okay, so the larger particles, what happens is, because of this, the particles which are larger directly pass down and are eluted out. Okay, so in size exclusion, or also called as gel permeation, okay, another name is gel filtration. In all this, what the basic idea is, that the larger protein, okay, the larger molecule will pass, that is, will elute first, and then will the smaller ones. Okay, so the smaller the particle, the more easily it enters into this and the more time it will take to elute out. Now look at the graph. Here you see P, Q, R and S, right? Now P means that, see, it is getting eluted out in the first early fractions. Okay, so what does this mean? That basically the molecule P, the protein P, was the one which directly passed through these beads. So this one is the one which is going to be of the largest size. Now among the given values, 65 is the largest. So this peak of this peak P corresponds to 65. And the S peak is the one that basically belongs to the protein that is smallest in size, because the smallest protein will have to pass through many of these beads and it will reach at the latest. So this is 27. So check in which option this is so. So in P is 65 in option A and B, and S is 27 only in option A. So my correct answer to this is A. So the whole MCQ is just based on the fact that the larger protein will pass through, whereas the smaller one will take time as it is retained in the piece. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Now the next question is based on Sanger sequencing. Now what does the question say? They have given you the gel pattern, okay? And as you know, Sanger method is basically used in DNA sequencing. Now we have to tell them what is the sequence of the original DNA molecule. Now the entire MCQ is simply based on the polarity. Now, if this is the direction of migration, okay, if this is the direction in which the gel is run, then the top part will be the 3' and the bottom part will be 5'. Obviously, this will not be given. I have written it down, but this is something you should know. Okay. Now, how would you read the template? How would you read the original strand? So now, if you go this way, 3' to 5', if you start reading it, you have T first, right? So T, then you have A, then you have G, then T, T again, then C, C, okay, then you have next A, and finally T. So this is basically what your result that you have obtained over here. Now what is going to be the original strand, the template? The template will be the one that is in the 5' to 3' origin, that is the complementary strand, that is A, T, C, A, G, G, T, A, right? So let us check which option it is. And 5' to 3' with ATCAA is option A. Another way of doing this is read the gel from lower to upper, because obviously we know the template strand would be the one that is in the 5' to 3' direction, right? So if this is your 5', then read like this. It is which base is complementary here? It is T. So first we have the T, then you will have A, then C, C, T. So this is how you can find. Okay. So that's about how to solve this particular question. Next one is right here. The question number 22. So now here they are saying using FRAP, that is fluorescence recovery after photo bleaching technique, they found the diffusion coefficient of 3 integral membrane proteins, M1, M2, M3. Okay. Now the diffusion coefficient is 1 micrometer per second for M1, M2 0.05 micrometer per second, and M3 is 0.005 micrometer per second. Okay. Now, considering the fluid mosaic nature of biological membrane and relationship of structural organization of integral membrane protein with diffusion coefficient, which protein will have highest number of integral membrane domains? Now, first, let's go step by step. Let us first discuss about the technique that they are talking about here, which is FRAP, fluorescence recovery after photo bleaching. Now, what is this particular technique? So basically in FRAP, as the name suggests, you use fluorescence. So this is usually performed to see the lateral diffusion in the membrane. Okay, the lateral diffusion in the membrane. Lateral diffusion of what? The proteins. Okay, so this, suppose this is your membrane. Okay, now what they do is whichever membrane protein you want to study, your protein of interest, okay, the membrane protein of interest, it is basically tagged with a fluorophore. Okay, so say this is my fluorophore and I'll tag this particular molecules of interest with this fluorophore. Okay, now what I will do is, after tagging this, there is going to be fluorescence shown on this. Okay, how is that? Not fluorescence, basically you will shine a laser beam on it. Okay, laser beam. and you will, keep on shining laser beam on it. And because of this laser beam, what will happen is the fluorophore will be bleached. Okay, the fluorophore will be bleached. Now, how does this look like? So say, suppose I draw the membrane like this. Okay, this whole membrane is, suppose, the one that I have coated with this fluorophore. Now, when you strike upon the laser, okay, suppose I stroke laser on this particular area right here. Now, because of that, what will happen is the fluorophores in that particular area, this area will become bleached. Now, the whole area remaining will show fluorescence. However, this particular area, because the laser was incident there, will bleach. Now, what will happen? Now, you will be observing this and seeing how much time is it taking for the fluorescently labeled molecules at the side, okay, to come and basically fill in this area. Because of diffusion, now they are going to travel in, right? So those molecules from the side, how much time they are taking to come and occupy that position is what we are measuring. And that we measure in the form of this graph between fluorescence intensity and time. Okay. So basically, what does the diffusion coefficient tell you here? So basically, the more higher the value of the diffusion coefficient you find, that means what? That faster is the recovery. Na? More the diffusion coefficient, more is the recovery. That is, faster will this particular bleached area become unbleached again. That means that particular membrane protein is a one that is moving fast. Correct. Now, what is this having to do with the integral membrane protein? Now, what is the integral membrane protein? It is basically a protein that is embedded in the membrane. Okay, so an integral protein is the one that is embedded in the membrane. Now they are telling you, like, considering the fluid mosaic model of the basic biological membrane, if these are the diffusion coefficient, which of this will have the highest number of integral membrane domains? Now, what you need to understand is, more the integral membrane domains that are present, what will that mean? That more that particular protein will be stuck, it will be anchored, it will be rooted inside the membrane. Correct? That means lesser will its mobility be. So now, if you basically attach a fluorophore to a protein that is basically an integral membrane, has a lot of integral domains embedded in the membrane, it will not be able to move. It is like an anchor, right? And if there is an anchor, that much will be the lesser will be the speed. Okay, more restricted to that area it will be. Now look at the values. From the values, it is very evident that M3 basically has a very small diffusion coefficient, right? Means it takes a lot of time to get recovered. So if I bleach it, it takes a lot of time for the bleached area to become unbleached again. That means what? That this particular protein that you labeled with the fluorophore is the one who is actually having a lot of integral domains, and because of which it is not able to recover very fast. Whereas the ones that are 1 micrometer, this is the fastest recovery, meaning that must have the least integral domains, and this one is mid-size. So the right answer to this is M3 only. If you want me to make a detailed video on FRAP, do let me know. Here I just try to give you the information in short and whatever was relevant to understanding this problem. Let's move on to the next one. Now this says that the DNA mixture has N14 labeled DNA and N15 labeled DNA. Okay, from the FAST T4, and it was denatured and allowed to re-anneal. How many beads would you observe on CSCl gradient centrifugation? Okay, now this is a 14N DNA, so the DNA is double stranded, so this will be 14 and 14N. The next one will be 15 and 14. Is that correct? Now what they have done? Denaturing. Now when you denature, what is going to happen is these strands are going to get separated. Correct? So you will have strands like this. Now you are re-annealing. Now while re-annealing, there is a chance that these two will re-anneal together. Similarly, there is a chance that these two will re-anneal. Correct? But isn't there a chance that some of the 14N would re-anneal with the 15N? This is also a possibility. Therefore, now you have a hybrid molecule 14 and 15N, one light band and one heavy band. So when you perform CsCl2 density gradient centrifugation, you will see three different bands. So the answer to this is option B. Come on, let's go to the next one. So this question is based on two techniques, that is gel filtration chromatography and SDS. Now let us read what they say. So a protein has a molecular mass of 400 kilodaltons. Okay, fine. Now when measured by gel filtration, so they found after performing gel filtration, this is the molecular mass. Then they subjected this protein to electrophoresis using SDS. So basically what SDS does it provides uniform charge to all, and that way the proteins can migrate according to their molecular masses. So after electrophoresis with SDS, they found three bands, and the bands were corresponding to the weights 180 kilodaltons, 160 kilodaltons, and 60 kD. Okay. Now this is when you did SDS. Now again they carried out electrophoresis, and this time it was SDS plus beta mercaptoethanol. Okay, after doing this, what they found that again you get three bands. Okay, so three bands again. But this time the molecular masses that they found were different. One band corresponded to 160, the other one was 90, and the other one was 60 kilodalton. They are asking you give the subunit composition of this protein. Now, since in SDS you had three bands, so you got these particular three. And if you add them up, you will obviously get the final molecular weight. Now, what happens when you add mercaptoethanol? So basically, beta mercaptoethanol is known to, yeah, exactly, break the disulfide bonds. Okay. Now, just compare and tell me which bands are the same. Can you notice that this band corresponding to 160 and 60 is the same? See, these two bands are the same, right? What is different? Here, when there was no SDS, okay, when there was no SDS used, that time there was a, sorry, when there was no beta mercaptoethanol used, there was a band for 180. But when we use beta mercaptoethanol, we suddenly got a band of 90. Isn't this exactly half of this value, right? What does this mean? Can this mean that there are now two bands of 90? So 90 plus 90 will give you 180. However, because there are two bands of the same molecular weight, they will appear as a single band. Just that the width of the band will be more. Okay. So now what we can conclude, let us try to read the options. So it says that the protein has 4 subunits. And that is actually correct. What are the 4 subunits? You have 160, 90, 90, and 60, isn't it? So yes, first statement is correct. Second statement says 290 kilodaltons are linked by disulfide bonds. That's absolutely correct. And that's how you get 3 bands, one corresponding to 180 when you just treat it with SDS. So this is also correct. The protein has 3 subunits. We know that is not true because when we further treated it with beta mercapto, you found some different band altogether. So this is incorrect. 260 kD are linked by disulfide bond. That's not possible because here otherwise you should have got a band for 120, but we got one for 180. So then obviously the options P and Q are correct. That is option A. Okay. Guys, if you all are still stuck to the video and this is really helping you, please leave a like down in the comment section. And I want you to comment down below which of these videos you want next. So in the techniques, I have one technique that I would explain to you in detail if you want. FRAP. Second one that I can do is EMSA, that is electrophoretic mobility shift assay. Third option is I can make a video on phage display. Okay. And fourth, I can make a video on say CRISPR or maybe I can do a spectroscopy. So let me know which out of these you want me to do next. So we can do the technique as well as we can even do the past year's questions on these if you are interested. So do not forget to mention it down in the comments. Okay, now let us move ahead to the next second last question of our video. So here what they give is the void volume of a gel filtration column is this. So V0 is given as 30 ml. Okay. A monomeric protein with a known molecular mass of 25 kilodalton elutes at a volume of 45. The protein you are trying to purify will elute at 35 ml. Then what you can conclude? Okay. Now let us try to understand what they are saying. So basically their aim is to calculate the molecular weight of the protein of interest, the protein that they are trying to purify. Now there is a known protein which when you carry out gel filtration, okay, basically elutes out at 45 ml. That is when you carry out the procedure at the 45th ml, this particular protein having a weight of 25 kilodalton will come out. Okay. Now, what they are asking you is what can you conclude about the protein if the one that you want to purify is eluting out at 35 ml. So your protein of interest elutes at 35 ml. You don't know anything about the molecular mass of the protein. So let us try and understand the concept over here. Now see, the protein that you knew, which was 25 kilodalton, it eluted at 45. Okay, what does this mean? That see, this took considerable amount of volume to elute out, right? That means this particular 25 kilodalton protein, it passed into the pores of the gel filtration, right? And then it was able to elute out. Okay. But now their protein that you're trying to elute says that it will come out at a volume of 35 ml. So obviously 35 is before 25 ml right here. That means that the protein of interest, it elutes before, correct? It will come out before. Now, if something elutes out before in your size exclusion chromatography, what can you conclude? That the size is more. We just discussed in the first problem that the protein which is having a higher molecular mass elutes out first. So this protein that is coming out at 35 ml has a higher molecular mass than the 25 kilodalton protein. So what can I safely conclude about this? I can safely conclude that my protein molecule has a mass greater than 25 because it eluted out first. Hopefully this is actually clear to you. And the last question based on size exclusion is this. So you have a mixture of proteins, protein 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, the weights of them are so on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One has weight 5,000, then you have 10,000, then 25, 65 and 1 lakh. Okay. Now, okay. They are separated using size exclusion chromatography. And how did I understand that they are basically removed by that? So look here, they have given you a hint. Cefadex G50 column was used. And it is, they're talking about elution, so definitely it is the size exclusion chromatography. Now they are asking you the order in which proteins elute out. Now, according to all the problems we discussed now, what we know is more the size of the protein, that is larger the protein, okay, faster will it elute out, correct? So more rapidly it will come. Now, there is slight extension to this. In the previous questions, they never gave you this number. They never actually mentioned this exactly. Now, what do I mean by this Cefadex G50 column? Here comes a concept of size exclusion limit. Okay, what is it called as? Size exclusion limit. Now, the size exclusion limit for the G50 column is that any protein okay, any protein above the mass, the molecular mass of 30 kilodalton, or I can say 30,000 Dalton, will pass directly, meaning it will not at all engage. Okay, it will just, as you add na, that way it will directly pass on. It is not going to interact with the column at all because it is above the size exclusion limit. Okay, so it is directly going to pass out. It is not going to undergo chromatography. It's not going to engage at all. There is an upper limit and a lower limit. So 30 kilodalton is the upper limit. So beyond this, the protein will directly pass, and below, okay, below 1.5 kilodalton, again, the protein will pass. So it cannot basically separate proteins that have a molecular weight below 1.5 kilodalton or above 30 kilodalton. Okay. So you have to be careful when you're using the beads. So you have to use appropriately depending on the protein. So if you want to separate a protein that is, say, 35,000 Dalton, then you cannot use G50 column. You'll have to use some other column. Okay. Now let us apply what we have understood over here. Now see, if 30,000 Dalton is the size exclusion limit, that is anything above 30,000 is not even going to wait for any time. It's just going to drip down directly. Zoop se down. Correct. So now 4 and 5 are not going to engage at all. So they will just elute out first. So look at this option. It says 4 and 5 will elute out first. Then now whichever is bigger amongst this will come first. So this is bigger. So you'll have protein 3 first and lastly protein 5. However, if you didn't know the concept of size exclusion limit, or if you had left my video in the middle, then you would have definitely take this 4, 3, 2, 1 and come. So definitely always stay to the end of the videos to get complete knowledge of everything. So that's it from me for today's video. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you want any other recommendation, any other demands, please do let me know in the comments. I will definitely answer your request. So that's it from me. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.